In the last video, we looked at the settings for OBS. If you haven't seen that video yet, follow the link on the screen. So now we have OBS all set up, we can start thinking about recording a video. The first step is to identify the relevant parts of the OBS window. First, we have the preview screen. This is where you place the elements that you want to put into your video. And then beside that, we have the output window. This window shows what content is currently being recorded. In between the two windows, we have the transition button, which will swap the content of the preview window and the content of the output window, thus allowing you to switch between various scenes, as well as adding and removing individual elements from existing scenes. Okay, so what is a scene? Well, a scene is an individual or group of elements that you want to appear in a video. For instance, you may want to display a full webcam, a gameplay window, or an internet browsing window, as well as many other things. You can find all your scenes at the bottom left-hand side of the screen. Underneath the scene box, you will see four icons: a plus sign, a minus sign, as well as up and down arrows. The plus icon is to add a scene, the minus is to remove the selected scene, and the up and down arrows adjust the position in the list of the selected scene. When you start up OBS for the first time, you will have a default empty scene already present in the scenes box. So let's go ahead and add an element to the scene. But first, let's change the name of the default scene to Test1. Just right-click on the scene and then left-click on Rename and type in Test1 and hit Enter. You will see more options when you right-click on the scene, but we'll talk about them later on in the video. So now we have our scene named and we're ready to add some elements. The first scene we're going to make is just a full page webcam shot. So go ahead and right click in the sources box. In the menu, select Add and you will see a box appear with the various options to choose from. We want to choose video capture device. As soon as we select that option, a new window will appear on the screen called the Create Select Source window. These windows will allow you to add a new source or to use a source you've already used in another scene. For now, as our scene is still blank, we're going to use Create New, and you can see that OBS already knows that you want to select a video input device based on your previous choices. So you can click OK and carry on. Once you click OK, a new window will appear that will allow you to choose the video device you require if you have more than one device connected to your PC. Or it will choose the only one if you have just a single connected device. Your device name should appear in the very top line underneath the preview window, followed by Deactivate, Configure Video, and Configure Crossbar buttons. Deactivate does just that. It deactivates your device, making it unusable in OBS. Configure Video will open up the device's own settings software if available, and will allow you to adjust the settings of the device itself and not the settings for OBS. Next we have Configure Crossbar, but this is only really relevant when using a capture card or other similar hardware. Next we have the Resolution drop-down menu. You can either leave this as default, in which case OBS will use the camera's current settings from the webcam's own software, or you can put in your own custom settings, which is what we're going to do. So go ahead and choose Custom. Now we can choose a custom resolution, and we want a full screen webcam picture. So choose the native setting of your monitor. Remember, we did the settings. This was also the resolution we chose for recording and streaming. You can now see that we have a full screen webcam picture. Now we come to the FPS drop-down. We want to select the optimal FPS for our camera, not for our system, as this will give better overall results. I know that the Logitech C90 webcam I am currently using is at best a 30 frames per second web camera, so I usually set my FPS to slightly below that for best results. I generally don't touch anything else on this menu, so we can click OK. We now have a full screen webcam on the preview screen. But if I was to hit record now, all you would get is a black screen, because we have to move the scene across to the output window by pressing the transition button like this. As you can see, the preview window and the output window are both showing the same thing. So let's go back to the scenes box and add another scene. Right click on the scenes box and click add. Let's name our new scene test 2 and click OK. As you can see, we now have a blank preview screen again, but if I click test 1 and then test 2, you can see a switch between the two. So let's go ahead and add some different elements to our new scene. Right click in the sources box and left click add. We'll see our sources list appear, and this time let's add a display capture. Left click on display capture and we're creating a new source, so click OK. A new window will appear if you only have one monitor. This will appear as default. Otherwise you can choose whichever monitor you want to capture in the drop down menu below. Choose whether you want the cursor to show in the recording or not, and then click OK. We now have a copy of our chosen monitor in the preview window, so we can now go ahead and transition between the two scenes by clicking the transition button. What if we want both elements to appear on the same screen? Let's create a third scene. You should be able to do this on your own by now, so I won't talk through it again, and name it test 3. Okay, now we can add the elements from the other two scenes into the new scene by right-clicking in the sources window. Let's start with the display capture. When the selection box opens, you will now see the add existing box. Has a display already listed. This is the display that you captured for test 2. So we can now go ahead and import this into our test 3 scene. So click on the desired display and click the add existing button and click OK. Test 3 is now a copy of test 2, and now we want to bring in the webcam picture from test 1. So go ahead and select the existing video capture device. An alternative method is to just import the whole scene into a new scene by clicking add and adding the scene option to the new scene and choosing which scene to import. So now your preview window should just show the webcam. So how can we see both elements? It's pretty simple really. When you have more than one element in a scene, they are layered, and whichever element is in the top of the sources list will show on the preview window. So we need to resize to set up a window that has multiple elements showing. But before we do, let's look at the icons in the sources window. Next to each element, you'll see two icons, an eye and a padlock. As default, the element will be unlocked, so you can adjust it on the screen. If you left click on the padlock icon to lock the element, you will no longer be able to adjust it. The eye icon allows you to remove certain elements from view without having to remove them from the actual scene. When you click on it and it's grayed out with a line through it, the element will not be visible. So now when we look at the sources window, we can see that video capture device is top of the list, and so that is what we see in the preview window. Let's change that by dragging display capture up to the top, and we will then see the preview window display the display capture. So how do we see both? Well, we need to resize everything to share the preview window. So let's bring the video capture device back to the top and resize it. When you click on a source in the sources window, a red border with dragging handles will appear around the selected element. You can now go ahead and resize it, allowing whatever is below it in the sources box to become visible. You can see now that we have resized the video capture device, that the display capture element was behind it all the time and is now taking up the rest of the screen. Let's add some more elements to the screen. First, a background. Right-click in the sources window and choose image and create a new image element and browse to an image that you want in the background and click OK. For this example, I'm using a metal sheet background. Okay, we have added a background, but it's at the top of the list, so it covers all the other elements. So let's drag it down to the bottom of the list, and now we need to resize the display capture window to fit. So left click on it in the sources window to see the resizing handles and fit it to your image. If you can't resize exactly to what you want, right click on the window and go to transform and center to the screen, as this will center the picture and allow you to resize a little bit better. Now we have all three elements all showing to a certain extent on the screen, and this is a method you can use for putting together screen overlays for streaming and putting in a little bit of real-time editing for a video. For example, we can see our full scene in the output window, but if we also put it in the preview window and turn off the video capture device using the eye icon and hit transition, we now see the webcam picture disappear in real time. And that is what will appear in the final video. We can then turn it back on. Once you've added the elements that you need for your shot and arranged your screen to how you want it to look in the final video, you are now ready to start recording or streaming basic videos. Remember that you can perform basic editing in OBS, but it still needs to be used in conjunction with a good quality editing software suite such as Adobe Premiere for creating top-class videos. In the next video, we'll be looking at the effects, properties and filters in OBS, as well as taking a more detailed look at the settings for transitions. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.